Hey there! Welcome to Retro Reloaded. I'm your host Lance, and each week I tackle a retro game shaped by your picks. If you want a chance to choose next week's game or unlock exclusive bonus episodes and polls, join me on Patreon at patreon.com/retroreloaded. There's even a free tier to dip your toes in. Big thanks for all of your love and support. It means the world to me. Now let's hit the start button and reload those retro vibes.
History of Tales of Symphonia. Released in 2003 for Nintendo GameCube by Namco Tales Studio, Tales of Symphonia was a bold leap for the Tales series, bringing its signature action-based combat to 3D environments. Its cel-shaded graphics and engaging characters set a new standard for the franchise, making it one of the best-selling titles in the series. With an expansive story and memorable world, it's fondly remembered as a landmark JRPG of the early 2000s. The plot of Tales of Symphonia. The story centers on Lloyd Irving and his childhood friend Colette Bruno, the chosen one destined to save their world, Sylvarant. As they travel with friends like the stoic Kratos and the energetic Genis, they discover the true nature of their journey and a parallel world called Tethe'alla. Themes of friendship, sacrifice, and the cost of peace come to life in an epic tale spanning two intertwined worlds.
All right, with all of that stuff out of the way, I have two guest speakers for Tales of Symphonia today. My first guest speaker is Tully. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And my second guest speaker is Unkhaotic. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So me and Tully and Unkhaotic were actually having a discussion about how I was playing this game the last week, and I barely scratched the surface. So it's going to be kind of a weird podcast where, the same thing happened with Legends of Dragoon, because Legends of Dragoon is this massive RPG where it's very long, and Tales of Symphonia is actually even longer, from my understanding. So it's, I want everybody who's listening to kind of take my review with a huge pile of salt, not just a grain, like a pile of salt, because it's like going to be hard to say but it's basically going to be my first impressions. Obviously, Tully and Unkhaotic are going to go deeper into the other stuff that I have no clue about. We won't do like major spoilers, whether certain important characters die or whatever, but it's going to be fun. So what I usually like to start with is I usually like to get into my guests' backstories on how they got into these games. So we'll start with you. How about you, Tully? We'll start with you. How did you kind of get into Tales of Symphonia? Like what attracted you to this game?
So Symphonia came out in 2003, and in 2004 I was 14 and the target demographic, if you will. So me and some buddies from school all had the game, and that was our communal, well, how far did you get? What'd you see? What'd you do? For that year of school, in 7th grade. So I really enjoyed, as far as my history, I've played it multiple times. It came to me at a point that was really formative in understanding more of what, justice is, which is a weird word in the context of the game because of how contextualized it is. And perhaps, maybe I should have gotten it through my schooling, where you read, books about corrupt governments, but this is the game that brought me into the world of, oh man, people are terrible sometimes.
Okay.
And that's interesting.
Yep. Nice. Yeah, I have a couple games that did that for me too. That's very interesting. Okay. And how old were you roughly? Did you say how old you were when you played it?
I was 14.
Okay, 14. Okay, so you're probably around my age. I was born in 91, and I think Tales of Symphonia came out I know it came out in 2000, and you said 3, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I was probably 13, 14, roughly the same age. But I didn't, funny enough, I didn't actually really know about this game until later in life. I had a friend who always talked about it, And yeah, so that's kind of interesting that it flew under the radar for me like that. So yeah. And then so you really loved, you ended up loving this game. It taught you about corrupt governments. It taught you important life lessons, basically, is kind of what you're telling me. So it kind of made that strong connection for you by teaching you, I guess, life stuff? Or
Yeah, I mean, that would be a pretty good phrase. Lloyd is kind of a hero of mine in terms of characters that I've aspired to. More so when I was a bit younger, because he's a bit naive, which is the whole darn point. But where other people got, I'm sure Final Fantasy has the huge fan base where that's where everyone learned about the government, or to say that, or just, corporations are terrible at times. But Symphonia was the one that fell into my lap.
okay. You know what? I wasn't going to mention it because there's a running meme in my community about everything is Final Fantasy, because I mention that dang game every single podcast. And so here goes. Yeah, that's kind of where I learned about corrupt governments and like stuff was from Final Fantasy VII, because the story, that's kind of what it's about, at least in the beginning, and then there's a main villain and everything. So yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that a lot of people kind of learned that from Final Fantasy, and you learned it from Tales instead. So was this your first Tales game? There was other ones before it, right?
Yeah, this was the fourth one, and this was the first one I played. It came out on the GameCube, and I was a Nintendo boy growing up, so it was accessible. I didn't have a PlayStation to play the other games, so yeah, it was the first one.
Okay, great, awesome. And so, how many times would you say you've beaten the game?
Probably 4, because it takes about 60 hours to beat the game, unless you're just fiddling around. So it does take quite a bit, but I've rewatched many segments of it out of order many times.
Okay, great. So yeah, you're constantly like researching. Do you research this game on your off time?
Not anymore.
Yeah, you used to.
In days past, I have done that, but eventually I ran out of that game and I moved on to look at some others. So
okay, great. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I used to do that with, again, Final Fantasy VII. I used to even when I wasn't playing it, I was researching about the story and the characters. So that's like, it's funny how people get really into these games like that, where they just get really obsessive. I used to do it more when I was younger. I do it less now that I'm older, mostly because of time. Time is always of a thing nowadays. But so I want to move on to Unkhaotic, and I kind of want to start with like your story. Like, how did you get into this franchise?
Okay, so I was actually 4 years old the first time I ever played the game, because my older sisters were playing it. Like, we were all playing it together, just the 3 of us. And, obviously I wasn't the one picking the games and stuff, so it kind of just fell into my life too. I just wanted to spend time with my older sisters, so... And the things I kind of remember, like, from way back then was, like, I was always Colette because I always demanded to be, like, the girl characters in the game. It was very important to me. And
Yeah.
During certain sequences later on in the game where, like, Colette's not available for whatever reason, I would always be, like, Presea or something, which is someone you don't know yet.
Okay, great. Yeah.
But...
That's awesome. So you played it with your sister. So it was kind of like you would be like the second player or third player?
Yes, I would be third player usually. We also never actually finished our playthrough, but I continued playing the game like later on in life. I picked it up again like late elementary school, maybe early middle school, and just it became an obsession for me. Like, definitely, like, I just played through it on pretty much every platform I could like get my hands on. Like, I've played through the GameCube version several times. I've played through the PS3 version several times. I have it on Steam and I have it on my Switch now. Like, growing up, it was always my dream to have portable Tales of Symphonia. So now that it's on the Switch, it's like the best thing ever, though I've never actually gone through a full playthrough on the Switch yet. But
Wow.
yeah, I don't know, it just really spoke to me. I just fell in love with like the battle system, though it's like super outdated now. It was just my first ever RPG, my first ever like game I could run around as like the actual characters themselves and like, you know, control them in battle and everything. And I just fell in love with it. And I'd say like the story too is also like, I don't know, I'd say it like formed me into the person I am today. I always like look back on it and I always credit it to like other people of like, oh, this game's amazing. Like, you know, it's helped shape me into who I am. Like, it's, if anyone wants to like get to know me, play the game, you know?
Right. Okay. Wow. So you feel like it almost shaped your personality in a way. I can, and that's relatable for me because I did that a lot with games like Kingdom Hearts and again Final Fantasy. Like I would, especially growing up, I was very impressionable. So I get where you're coming from. That's very interesting.
Mhm.
Have you ever thought about doing like voice acting? It sounds like you could probably do Colette or something. So-
It's something I've thought of, but you know, with the kind of recent like strikes and all, I'm not sure the North American voice acting industry was looking too hot for a while, and I know a lot of studios have looked into other agencies like overseas and whatnot for their English voice acting. But yeah, it's definitely been something that like I've kind of thought, oh, would be fun, but never really seriously looked into.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I've done some amateur stuff, but I never did anything professional. It is fun. But I wasn't very, I'm not like good at it, but it was kind of, I did get paid, but just not very much. Yeah, but yeah, maybe you should, maybe you should at some point. I think it sounds like you have the voice for it.
Thanks.
How is the co-op? So you played it co-op. How is the co-op experience in this game?
So the GameCube version co-op was actually broken because the battle camera only followed first player. So the ideal way to play it is to have the first player be a caster as far away as possible, aiming at the farthest enemy as possible in order for everyone else to see their characters on the screen. But luckily all the remastered versions fixed that problem. Unfortunately, the only multiplayer part is the actual battle system. Like only one player can run around on the map in the overworld and advance the story otherwise. But overall, I'd say I don't know, it's decent. There's not really too much like variety for what you can do in single player versus multiplayer though. And honestly, it was so many years ago that we've played it together. Like, I'm sorry if you can hear my dog barking.
No.
Okay, cool. But I don't know. The multiplayer system, it's limited because it's like kind of sitting around waiting for battles to start if you're not player one. So that's kind of like a downside to it, but otherwise it's still really fun to play and battle and can even be more useful having real people doing stuff versus the computers, because sometimes the computers don't really make the best decisions.
Yeah, well, I'll get there, but I feel the same way about the computers. That's interesting that you said that. Yeah, so I think like it could be an interesting game to do co-op only because the story is compelling. So it's like this game is very story driven from what I've seen, so it's kind of like you're almost watching like a text-based movie at times. So I could see like being second player not being so bad. It just might get a little boring through certain aspects of the game when you're just waiting for your turn. That'd be cool if there was like a mod or something that you could like do like multiplayer. But that's kind of dreaming. I've seen it for Legend of Zelda. I've seen Ocarina of Time have that, which is super interesting. I don't know how it plays out though. I don't, I don't know how that actually works, but it seems like it would be really cool. So,
Sure.
yeah. So we're gonna go into our next segment here. Basically, how is this? So I'm gonna ask. I'll start with you, Tully. Is this your favorite game of all time?
I would say it is up there. It kind of depends on my mood, but it's definitely held that position multiple times within my life. So I'll just say, yeah, it's up there.
What other games kind of compete for that spot?
Story-wise, Okami is the one that stands next to it consistently, because it's kind of like a Zelda game, but you're a wolf and it's beautiful. I don't like I'm sure we'll get into this a little later. I don't like the story as much, but Tales of Vesperia, I would honestly say, is probably a better holistic game. But Symphonia has some highs that I like a little bit more. To stay in the same franchise. And then Slay the Spire is the best game in the past 10 years to be released.
Okay, is Vesperia after or before this game?
None of the Tales games are connected chronologically unless there's a specific, like, Tales of Xillia 2. So it came out 4 years afterwards, if that's
okay. Yeah,
that answers your question.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, so it came out 4 years afterwards, and maybe they updated some of the mechanics and stuff. So, okay. But you're saying you like Tales of Symphonia's story better?
Yes.
Okay.
Easily.
Interesting. Okay. What about you, Unkhaotic? Is this one of your favorite game?
Yeah, I'd have to say Symphonia is probably like one of my most favorite games of all time. The only other games that I'd really like put like near it aren't even in the same genre. Like Animal Crossing and Mario Kart, those are also like two types of like games that I've always come back to and I like grew up with throughout my life. So it's like I would probably list as like top 3, but like overall as like a game, I'd say Symphonia just has my heart for any like RPG, JRPG that I've played. It's like I have played other games in the Tales series too, but I've never actually finished them because in the back of my head, I'm like, this isn't Symphonia. It's kind of ridiculous, and I know I need to keep an open mind more like with the other games because they are really, really good in their own right, but sometimes I just have that itch I can't scratch unless I just go back to the same game that I've been playing.
Yeah, so they took the same route as Square Enix in the sense that like each game was its own unique thing. And I actually had the same issue when I went from 7 to I think 7 to 10, and I was like, what? Like, where's Cloud? Like, where's Shinra? Like, where like where are these people? And there was nowhere to be found, and I was kind of like upset by it. But I played the game and I was like, oh, it's a good game in its own right. But yeah. So I understand that feeling where it's like it's not, Tales of Symphonia. Even though they're good games, it's not the game. So I get that. Very interesting. Now, is there? So I'm gonna ask about the remaster versus the original. Now, we'll actually start with you, Unkhaotic, this time. Do you prefer the original or the remaster, and why?
I know this is kind of like more controversial, but I actually prefer the remaster over the original. I know many people love the original because the battle system had 60 FPS over like 30 FPS, but the remaster came out with more like character costumes and cutscenes and even like text for different characters and like unison attacks that certain characters didn't even have a unison attack at all in the original game. And then also the mystic arts that you get way later on in the game. Only 3 characters in the original could even have them. Technically 4. But the remaster, every single character gets their own like mystic art, like ultimate technique, that sort of thing. And there's like I said before, like other cutscenes and like more side quests and more mini bosses unlocked and like even harder, like certain bosses on certain difficulties are even harder. So I actually do prefer, at the very least, the PS3 or PC version over the GameCube version. Just for those reasons. But I know a ton of people, again, love to just be like, oh, but the 60 FPS is the best, because unfortunately all of the remasters are based off of the PS2 version that was Japan only, and that was capped at 30 FPS. all the remasters are based off of that one, and each remaster based off the subsequent remaster. So they're all locked at 30 FPS.
Okay. Yeah. Then that's kind of a recurring theme that I heard about was like people would, when I asked about the game on Reddit, a lot of people were saying, like, go with the original, don't play the remaster because the 60 FPS, like the 30 FPS is just, it looks horrible. That's what they kept telling me. And so I did end up going with the GameCube version of the game. I kind of did a interesting thing though with texture packets and stuff like that. So I kind of got the remaster experience in a way without, and not completely, mostly just graphically. And the remaster's graphics are very beautiful, but I can't imagine. I don't know why they did it the way they did, where they took a port that was like 30 FPS and then they, who knows? But I have heard that it's controversial to like the remaster kind of over the original. So, but the remaster is beautiful. Like the graphics are just gorgeous on the remaster.
Funny thing too is that I actually prefer the original graphics on the GameCube and the original sprites and stuff for the character portraits and even like Colette's wings. I like that they look really soft on the GameCube version. I actually kind of detest the way that they remastered like the wings and certain like the items all got like remastered too. I actually like the pixel sprites, so visually I kind of do like the GameCube version more, funnily enough.
So you mostly like the remaster for the quality of life then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The extra content and battles and stuff and bosses that you can face that aren't available on the GameCube version at all, yes.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. All right. So, Tully, what is your favorite version and why?
I've only really played the GameCube one, and I still have my GameCube. To piggyback kind of off the FPS thing, the main problem I've seen is that when you get later in the game and you're trying to build combos, the game wasn't built with an engine to just say, do this move in this period of time and generate the frames. It was made with an old mindset where every frame was generated on a separate computer and then ported in. So when they cut it to 30 FPS, they cut half the frames out of the moves, so you can't combo how you want to.
Okay, and that's on the GameCube version you can't?
The GameCube you can because it runs at 60, but every other version runs at 30, so you can't combo perfectly. Mostly on Lloyd because he has the deepest move set of everybody. But there are certain lines you were just incapable of doing because the game can't input the right timing because it doesn't have the ability because the original source code was lost. Wow. And my dream is that one day, instead of just a remaster of a port of a port of a port, we'll just get a complete rebuild where they just make the game work. Something like Persona 3 Reload. Like just overhaul it. Trust me, we'll buy it.
Right. Yeah, this game is so popular. That wouldn't be a mistake for them to do that. I think that would be fine. Okay, so interesting. So you've basically just mostly played the GameCube. But it seems like the GameCube version could have an edge basically because of the combo system and being able to input certain things that you can't for some reason on the remaster. All right, I guess that makes sense. I don't know which movesets those are. I'm sure it gets more complicated as the game goes on. And for clarification for the audience, I only got to the water dungeon, water seal, water temple, whatever you want to call it, the water place, where there was a mermaid boss. And I got my butt kicked over and over and over by this mermaid boss. The game was super easy up until that point. So ironically, I don't know what happens. Like maybe I skipped content that I shouldn't have skipped or something. I wasn't really grinding in the game. I avoided battles a lot, but I got to this point, and all of a sudden it went from like a 1 or 2 difficulty to like a 7 or 8, and I was like, what? Why am I dying so much? But, maybe I missed something. I'm not really sure. And so just clarification. I didn't get very far, like maybe 15% of the game, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's 20%, 15. So not very far. Yeah. And so let's talk about the features. So there's this game has a very specific combat system. It's like it's different though than anything I've really played. It kind of reminds me of a fighting game, but it appears as if it's not a fighting game. Like it's like kind of got like a 3D circular area that you fight in, but your character really only moves linearly towards an enemy back and forth, and you attack and you use things like techs, and then there's these things called U attacks, EX skills. So I'll let whoever wants to kind of explain the combat system do that. Any of you want to explain kind of like how that all works?
I guess I can take a crack at it, but
is it complicated?
It is.
It's kind of like there's a lot of explaining, because everything kind of interworks to like help you be stronger, if that makes sense. Like there's a lot more than just unga bunga hack and slash your way through the game, as you have now been shown. Like, so firstly, the like EX skills mechanic is kind of like not really elaborated upon super early game, but it gets more important later on once you get the higher level EX skills like available to you. Like there will be a combination where Rain becomes uninterrupted while she's casting, but unfortunately you will not be able to even access that combination until way later on. So for now, it's like you have to kind of suffer through her constantly getting interrupted anytime an enemy sneezes on her.
Okay.
But they're very important. The EX skills will determine what type your character is. You might have seen on the main menu like certain characters say S type or T type. That can be changed back and forth through use of the EX skills. And basically, once you start learning level 2 and level 3 techniques for the characters, they will be either T, which means technical type, or S, strike type. And which ones they learn are based off of what EX skills you have set, so which type your character is aligned to. Strike is typically like more single target concentrated, like stronger damage, versus technical is more like area of effect, like less damage, but hits like bigger areas and whatnot. That kind of is like true for most characters. Like there's some exceptions. Like for example, Rain, when she's strike type, her healing spells will get stronger, but heal like one single character like for more of their max HP. And even like full HP is the level 3, and then level 4, she can cast a skill on them where it'll be before they die, but it'll be a free revive and heal if they do like KO and fall down. But her technical side is usually the side that most players choose, is because she will heal all of the allies in battle once you learn the level 2 heal. Level 3 is kind of iffy. It'll be a small AoE. It won't heal the entire party unless they're all grouped together. But then level 4, Revitalize, heals the entire battlefield. It is very costly TP-wise, but it is a very strong spell. So usually people will have, Rain learn her technical healing spells and such. And there's different combos and different things you can learn just by having different skills on like S type or T type. Like the unison attacks, certain unison attacks will make like a unison attack combo depending on what skills you are using in the unison attack, if that makes sense. And certain ones are only unlockable through their like S type or T type like variants, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a little bit more of a convoluted like system of certain things. You kind of have to research outside of the game sometimes to figure out like, oh, how do I get this spellcaster to like stop being interrupted? Because like Jean's concentrate skill, which is what that is called, is different from did I say Gene? I meant Genus and Reigns. I think I combined their names, but their set of skills are different for how they get that concentrate skill.
Okay.
So it's kind of a lot more like in depth in that way, where everything kind of affects each other.
And
Yes.
is not explained to you at all in the game.
Okay, that was my
Yeah.
next question. I was like, so
Yeah.
is this explained in the game? Because I feel like I missed that if it is.
Yeah, there's like kind of the training manual that Kratos gives you early on, but it kind of is very vague and not super detailed. Like, I'd say a really important part of the game is actually elemental resistances and like paying attention to what a boss is elementally like resistant to or weak to, and vice versa, taking advantage of like accessories in the game that'll give you elemental resistances. Like, for example, the water temple, the boss that you are fighting right now, it does water damage to your characters. Boda drops a charm called the Poison Charm. It actually halves water damage. Does the game tell you that from the little brief description? No. So I'd recommend you go back to Palma Costa. You can buy 3 more Poison Charms, equip 1 of them to each of your 4 party members, and all 4 of them will have halved water damage and die a lot less quickly. They're kind of spendy though. They're like 4,000 Gald a charm, so you might need to grind some Gald out. But there's taking advantage of the resistances in the game is also like a key part of the combat system, to where it'll turn the tides of the battle like more in your favor if you pay attention to, oh, these people are fighting me with fire stuff. I should, equip a flare cape or whatnot, which unfortunately isn't available early on, but I digress.
Okay.
There's like a point system too. So like poison charms will give you 2 resistance to water damage, which will have it. You need 5 points of resistance to be completely immune to an element. So unfortunately, doubling up on poison charms will only give you 4 resistance to water, if that makes sense. And then all the way up to 7, you'll actually absorb the element, which not only will it make it not damage you, it'll actually heal your character. So that can be very advantageous later on with certain bosses that just kind of throw everything at you. But unfortunately, you do not unlock the equipment for that sort of thing until way late game. And even in new game pluses, you can't carry over the old equipment, which is very, very sad.
Okay. Wow. So there seems to be a lot of elemental balance, like countering in this game. Like that seems to be an important part.
Yes.
And unfortunately, like you can't really know some of the things. Like for example, the poison charm thing with the water stuff. You don't really know that unless you said research it or use it.
I mean, so the description of it won't tell you it right away, but I forget what button it is, and it depends on what console you're playing. But you can see the attributes of the accessories and whatnot with a button when you're looking at them in the shop or in your inventory and whatnot. And it'll actually show you in the little, like, a little tiny text that says, like, resistance or whatever, and it'll have a little water drop next to it. So it'll kind of tell you, but the game won't tell you to look for that sort of thing. And then also, if you go to the character status menu and you drop down with, I want to say the C stick for the GameCube, but it'll show you what elements you are currently like resistant to, or it'll be blank if there's nothing. It'll tell you if you passively like regenerate HP or TP, because certain accessories will do that for you in battle. And yeah, I believe either on the second page or the first page, it will show you what you are currently immune to. And it'll also helpfully tell you that if it says reduce, that means it's half damage. If it means like immune, that means you're immune. And if it means absorb, it will heal you. It doesn't go in depth for that for the enemies though. It'll just tell you, what they're like if you look in the monster list, I mean. It'll tell you what they're like immune to or weak to, or like nothing if there's nothing. But it won't tell you like fully if it absorbs it, because certain enemies, you will actually heal them. Like if they absorb fire damage and you hit them with fire damage, you'll actually be healing them. You won't just do nothing. You can heal them. So that's something to keep in mind, because there's certain weapons in the game that do have elemental attributes just attached to them naturally. So you could be doing more harm than good equipping some of the better equipment.
Yeah, that's something I'm familiar with. There's a lot of RPGs that do have that. I was kind of like, when I was on that water temple boss, I think I was looking for something to counter it, and what would it be? Lightning, I'm assuming? Is that the...
Yes. Okay. I would highly recommend having Colette learn Parabol. It's on her S-type side. It is the upgrade to Pow Hammer. She learns it at a relatively low, not low level, but it should be one of the earliest like techs that she learns.
Okay.
And that will shred those things to pieces.
Wow. Okay, that interesting. So there was another feature that I also was very curious about, and maybe Tully, you can explain this one. How's the cooking work in this game? Like, what's that all about?
You can ignore cooking if you want, but it's there and it's fairly robust, but it's not the most important item. Largely, you use it to heal your party between battles, and it has some other ramifications on your overlimit, which I'll get to in a second. And some characters can fail making a sandwich, and there are quite a few memes about that, especially Rain, who, I don't know if you've seen this, she cannot cook. Her cooking rating is 2 stars. And it's quite humorous if you you get some skits if she fails. But yeah, largely heals the party. Every character has a certain flavor that they enjoy more, and that will trigger their overlimit, which will half your damage and give you more combo potential to abuse. And to use the mystic cards in the game, you have to be in overlimit. And for one of the characters, she has a whole subset of abilities that only work in overlimit, and that's again where the game doesn't even tell you that. So that was 30 minutes of my life entering a battle just to see the cool new thing I got. Didn't happen.
Wow.
So it's buried in the textbooks. The game definitely has almost an old school, did you read the textbook? I hope you did, because if you didn't, we're not going to explain it for better or worse.
Right.
But you can go the whole game without cooking and be fine if you really wanted to. And often I tend to neglect it because I would rather buy cool swords, armors, and charms than lettuce.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, like because I felt like because I wasn't grinding, I was always low on money. So I kind of avoided buying food. I was mostly just buying gear. Like I was like, oh, okay, that's an upgrade for my weapon or whatever. And I'd run out of money pretty quick. So unless, yeah, I guess if do you feel like you have to grind in this game? Do you feel like it's a grindy game or no?
It has a few grindy points. Not often. I would say that as far as you've gotten, the first major grind is before Ifrit, the fire guy. And you have to grind Genus to have Aqua Edge. And if you don't do that, you are not going to win the fight. As much as you ram your face into it, not going to happen. The water fight is also quite difficult. They're trying to gear you up and teach you that you need to, one thing to do is to go into Genus's magic ability list as if you were like selecting him as a character, and to disable every magic spell he can do except the ones you want him to do, in which he'll just only spam the lightning spells or the water or whatever element you so choose.
Okay. So
I would relegate.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I would relegate the grinding to early parts of the game. Once you get past hour 15 to 20, depending on how fast you play, I rarely found myself grinding. Unless I was trying to like learn a combo and I just needed an idiot to run into my face so I could kill him.
Okay, so it seems like you do have some grinding, but it's mostly kind of attributed to maybe the first like portion of the game, first 40% maybe, or 20 hours or whatever. What is that? Maybe 30% of the game, but it's
No, it's third of the game.
yeah. So you kind of it helps to grind early on so that you don't have to do anything later on. You just kind of chill, and kind of cruise through the rest of the story. Okay, yeah, I heard that you don't really have to grind at all, so I didn't. I just avoided everything, maybe, and I think now that you both have talked to me about the water boss, it seems like the reason I was really stuck is because I needed certain elements and stuff to kind of assist me in this battle, and I just didn't have that equipped. Okay, interesting. Are there any other do you? We'll go with you, Unkhaotic. Do you have a favorite feature in this game? And maybe that could be a mini game. It could be like maybe the cooking. It could be, whatever.
I'd say honestly, just battling is probably my favorite feature because I would spend hours and hours of the game as a kid fighting this one dragon in a temple later on in the game that in the GameCube version, it dropped 10,000 gold. That's not why I constantly fought it. I just fought it because it was big and seemed really strong, and I liked jumping up in the air with like Colette and other characters to hit its face. Okay. And so I don't know if I'm really later on in the game though, there is like a Colosseum where you can get some really nice titles for your characters, and even after a certain point in the game, you can unlock their ultimate weapons by defeating the advanced mode of the Colosseum. So I'd say that that's probably one of my favorite things to do is finally getting that unlocked and going and trying to beat everyone down and struggling with certain characters that I don't play as much, but it's still part of the fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Can you because this reminded me, can you explain to me what the cat people do? I don't know what the heck they do really. They give
cats.
you the cat people.
Yes.
They're cat vendors.
Yes. I was just calling them the cats. KATZ.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of, you can pretty much ignore them. Especially if you're going through a first playthrough, whatnot. The cats will go through, and if you missed chests in dungeons, you can pay them a certain amount of gold, and depending on how much you pay them is more likely to increase their success rate. And that can be important later on because certain dungeons become inaccessible. So if you've missed some things in certain areas, paying the cats can help you still get 100% chest completion because there's a title associated to one of the characters that you can get for getting 100% of the chests unlocked. But
okay.
So that's one thing that they do. However, it's a bugged feature. Sometimes they don't give you back anything. There's certain dungeons people have found where they specifically miss chests on purpose, and they'll say, oh, you've got 100%, or oh, there's nothing for us to get, blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of a bugged feature, unfortunately. You can also buy EX gems from them with your grade, which is not recommended because that grade is lost forever. And the grade is something that's used in the New Game Plus shop after you've beaten the game in its entirety. And you can carry over your old techniques and old titles and whatnot from the first game into your next game. So it can be helpful if you need more EX gems, if you're struggling and you have enough to get, Rain the last EX gem she needs for concentrate so she can finally get the healing spells off and all that. But it's really not recommended to spend any of your grade on that and just kind of get your way through the game with the EX gems that the dungeons and bosses and chests automatically give you just throughout playing it naturally. Okay. So they're kind of a feature you can ignore in a sense. I'd say you could probably ignore the cats more than you could ignore cooking because there are at least achievements and titles you can get for mastering every recipe in cooking and learning every recipe with a certain character and getting even a special title for them, like a special costume title, I mean.
Okay.
So
Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, the cats confuse me, but now that I have a kind of a better understanding of that. And then there's titles. So titles, can I ask you a question? Do titles like stop working after so long? Because I felt like I equipped the title and then it just didn't give me the same stats out over time, and I had to equip another one. Is that how that works? How does the titles work?
Basically, titles, so titles work by every time you level up, the ones that like go green or whatever, they will have a % chance of boosting that stat additionally. HP and TP, like boosting titles, they will always like boost your stats by a specific amount. Those ones are always constant. However, like the attack, strength, defense, accuracy, evasion, those are a percentage base. So you have a chance of having an extra boost, but it won't boost your stats like just in general, just equipping this, it buffs your attack or your defense or whatever. It doesn't work like that, if that makes sense. It's just based on having a specific title equipped when you're leveling up, and certain titles you only get later on will be like the 10 or 100% stat that it will boost it every single time you level up, and it only boosts it by like 1. So level 250 is like the max level in this game. So if you have a title that boosts your strength by 10, you'll get 250 extra strength by the end of the game if you have it equipped the entire time. But that's only if you get to level 250, which is unrealistic for like a first playthrough. It's usually with the XP purchases in the grade shop for new game pluses. If that makes sense.
Okay, interesting. So I wasn't sure exactly how the title thing worked. I just saw that it maybe gave you some bonus stats, and I was like,
titles. Certain titles later on will give you costume changes too, like skins, and change your outfits, but they will not affect your stats at all. It'll be just like having the default title equipped. But yeah, they are you can kind of ignore them. I usually try to put the best ones on just because I like to min-max my playthroughs, but the first playthrough, it's kind of forgettable in a sense because you won't have access to the really good ones until way later on when it's kind of a bit late to be level grinding stat bonuses.
Okay. That's okay, gotcha. And so, Tully, what is your favorite feature in the game?
I want to say combat. The future games improve on the combat vastly. To give off just one item they give is in the later, like the title immediately after Symphonia, added a button to let you roam around the map in 2 dimensions and your free roam, which helps immensely when trying to avoid attacks. And Symphonia just doesn't have that. I do enjoy the combat, and I enjoy breaking Lloyd and his, multi hit combos. And it's just fun. Lloyd, and kind of with the other Tales games, like he is designed to be broken. So if you're just doing / double / ability over and over, I mean, the beginning you don't have your ability, everything, but if you're doing that towards the later parts of the game, you're kind of missing the point of you have aerial cancels and other ability cancels to make these long strings of just wackiness. Kratos is really good for that as well. And then anyone that can play, there's a character named Regal that you'll get way later, and every time I pick him up, I feel like a moron. And even the computer makes him look somewhat viable. But there is quite a bit of depth to controlling your main character.
Okay, so yeah, I was kind of like, as I think Unkhaotic said early, like unga bungying it. I was like just basically like pressing the attack button, and then I'd press the tech button or whatever it was. Like I'd just like it'd be like double like I'd like attack, and then maybe like 3 attacks and then like the tech. And that's kind of like the basic combo I did over and over and over and in this game. Like I basically did one thing over, and so I feel like I'm missing a lot when I'm doing that. I was like, okay, maybe I should be doing something else. And I was kind of worried. I'm like, am I messing up my playthrough by just doing this basic combination? Like, am I, because am I not leveling up certain things that I should be leveling up? So
the thing that will unlock a bit later is the EX spheres that you can equip to your characters. You can equip up to 4 of them, and certain EX abilities let you combo, in a sense, down. So you can always combo your basic attacks to, I forget the exact terms, to your light skill, into a heavy skill. And there are certain EX combinations that you unlock after the water temple, because that's when they start feeding you these EX gems, where you can go from light attack, or from your basic attacks to light attack to a heavy to a light, which can then be strung into another heavy attack, and so forth. That takes just experimenting.
Okay, interesting. All right, so we haven't really talked much about the story, and I know that I haven't gotten that far. But maybe we can do like a general overbroad abstract of kind of what Tales of Symphonia encompasses, like maybe, because as far as I've gotten, all I know is that there's kind of like a warring factions, I would suppose. There's like the people that, I mean, maybe it's just better that you explain it, because in my head it kind of makes sense, but I don't know if I can explain it that well. I know that Colette is like on this mission to become like the savior of the world, and she does it by going to these temples and unlocking powers. And then there's these bad people who want to stop her from doing that, because it means that if she does it, then they're going to get wiped out from existence. So maybe I'm wrong in this, but that's kind of the general gist that I have so far. So maybe one of you guys want to kind of like give a broad abstract of it.
Yeah, that's kind of what the game definitely feeds you at the beginning, at the start. It's very like simple, like black and white, that, oh, the Desians are super bad people, they run these human ranches. They're very like similar to like concentration camps type thing. So there's like very heavy themes of like racism and whatnot. And then, they're the bad people, and they're trying to like stop Colette from regenerating the world. And there's other, characters. You've encountered one before that's even tried to assassinate Colette, and there was a boss battle with her, but she like fell down the freaking mine shaft. But you still had to fight her anyway. Yeah. It seems very black and white at first, like we are the good people and these are the bad people. But there's kind of a huge shift later on where you realize by trying to save your world, you actually are putting something else, like another world, at risk by doing so. So it becomes really complicated, where you have to kind of fight whether or not you think it's worth sacrificing other people in order to save yourself, sort of thing. It kind of deals with that. And I'm not sure if Tully wants to try to continue from there.
To go a little bigger in scope, part of the game is like, I'm just going to risk, and hopefully this isn't a huge spoiler, and hopefully you kind of picked up on it. Part of the game is about the foundation of religion, and how can that be misconstrued? So, this spoiler, you've been lied to a little bit. I won't tell you how you've been lied to, because I'm sure you kind of figured, like, that sounds a little weird. I'm not going to believe that.
Yeah.
But that is a huge component to the story of how did we get here, and why do people believe what they believe, and are they justified in doing what they do? Again, the game is about racism, quite obviously and quite prominently. And in my opinion, it doesn't really shy away from it. It shows multiple aspects of where not only negative items or like negative things are always negative. Like in certain parts of the game, characters take actions that kind of make sense, but ultimately they're kind of moralistically gray and wrong. But you get it because that's the world they're living in, and their entire life has been shaped by everything. Lloyd's journey is fantastic. One of the things I really like about the story of the game is Lloyd is the central character in which he's kind of at the nexus of everything happening, but he's not often the main character. So, like at the point you're at, Colette is the main character. Everything that's happening realistically is around Colette. And once your party expands, the game kind of has multiple chapters where certain characters will have an arc and other characters will fade into the background. And every now and then they'll come out and talk. But instead of every scene being a roll call of, well, I believe this, well, I believe this, the game kind of knows how to shut some characters up when it's just redundant. And so, again, Lloyd is this nexus that experiences a lot of different things. And he's our main person we follow. But it's not necessarily a straight narrative per individual character, which is something I really appreciate about the game.
Okay. Yeah, I do like that too. I like when games kind of make it like these gray areas, like you were kind of saying, like they aren't, at first it starts out like, oh, these are the bad guys, these are the good guys, but then you realize it's not so simple. There's a lot of morally questionable decisions maybe your team has to make during this time. And so I like that. I do enjoy that about games. And so it sounds like this story really starts to pick up later on. To be fair, the story wasn't bad. Like I wasn't like up to the point I'm at, it's still good, but it's a lot more simple so far. It's,
Yes.
It's go ahead.
Deceptively simple, I'd have to say. Like, you think it's very standard hack and slash RPG save the world, but the game really does kind of turn you on your head, or like turn on its head away, where it is way more than meets the eye.
Yeah, and I'm glad that it does that, because that makes it for especially for such a long game. You're gonna want the story to be interesting. You're not gonna want like, it's just like black and white. It's like good guy. There's the Care Bears, and then there's the the blue meanies. Like that. It's just like a I don't know. It's not interesting that way, but that's cool. So I'm glad to hear that it really picks up. Now. I'm going to go into some fun questions, and we've asked some of these, but we'll start with you, Unkhaotic. What is your favorite character in the game, and why?
That's a really hard question.
That is a really hard question. So I feel like I've actually gone through different periods where different characters have kind of been my favorite character, or like I've disliked some characters just randomly just throughout my life. But design-wise, I'd have to say it would be Sheena. I just think she's very pretty. She has, I don't know, her color palette is nice, and just her overall design, I just think very beautiful. But character-wise, I'd have to say probably, just as a general favorite, Lloyd. And, he's made to be likable. He's kind of the main character you control. It's kind of as Tully said, like, he's like the nexus of the story and all that, and he's just very hard-headed, and he's not perfect though. Like, he's kind of dumb in some aspects. Like, he's not very school smart, like book smart. He's definitely got like some weaknesses in that aspect, but he's still a genuinely like good, like pure-hearted character that's like an eternal like idealist and optimist. Like, he just believes like if you try hard enough, you can still win, you can still prevail. And it's like that sort of like unwavering like perseverance is what really like draws like the whole story together, and all of the other characters like to him in general too. Like, he's just a very good like natural leader in a way, where He doesn't know what's going on, but he's gonna do what his gut tells him to and do what's right and stand up for what he believes in, even if it's not technically legal or technically like the good way to go about stuff. Like, they still kind of manage to, if both paths are bad, he forges his own path instead of following either one, if that makes sense. And it's very like inspiring of like trait to have for like a character like in any media, sort of. So it's just very refreshing to sort of like have that sort of influence, if that makes sense. I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to explain certain things, but he's just, the situations he gets put in are funny. He's, always trying to do what's best for people and trying to, take the reins, of course. Later on, once things start to change in the story a bit, he's kind of thrust into the position of making all the big decisions on what to do. And, he's just a 17-year-old teenage boy, and now he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders, and it's corrupt, and there's so much just terrible things going on, but by golly, he's gonna change it because it's not right.
Yeah, he made me laugh a lot. Like, funny enough, this game made me laugh, and him and I want to say Genus made me laugh like quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like Genus is always kind of punking on Lloyd, and I thought that was kind of funny. And then like Lloyd is always like down, like anytime like anybody does anything cool, like that one mercenary guy, he's like, oh yeah, that's like, oh, whatever, I could maybe do that. He's always like kind of like downplaying his like achievements, because he's, I don't know. I thought it was kind of funny. He's like, oh, whatever. But yeah. So do you have a favorite character, Tully?
I'll talk about one of my favorite characters for a very little bit, because you haven't met her yet. But I'd say probably my favorite is going to be Persea, who you haven't met, and her story is remarkably tragic. And it's a cascading where you're like, oh no, it's bad. Oh, dang. That got a lot worse. It can't. Oh no. Yeah, it happens a few times. So my heart, that one really got my heart going. I really enjoyed her story, but I'm not going to give you anything to go off of. The other character I really like is Rain, because I think the sister teacher that's always annoyed with Lloyd and Genus because they're boys. Rain is just, she's fun. I enjoy having her in my party, and every time she has to do something embarrassing, she's very good flustered. I actually have a cat named Rain, and she's kind of orange. So that's,
okay.
I like
nice.
Rain quite a
So
bit.
Persea has this tragic story. I'm interested. When do you get to meet? Like, how far into the game is that?
It's like hour 30. You have a while to go.
They really introduced some of these characters like kind of like a while in, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, interesting. So what is your favorite dungeon? And we'll start with you, Unkhaotic, or location. It can be dungeon or location, up to you.
I'd say visually, I actually really like the Temple of Water. I like how misty and bright it is. However, my favorite location in general, it's a town you won't see for a while. It's like a little, it's called Altamira, and it's like a little seaside resort with like this fancy upscale hotel. And in the remastered versions of the game, like all versions has like a casino you can access at nighttime, but in the remastered version, you can actually like play the slots and play blackjack and stuff there. And there's like certain costumes and items and achievements you can get for like having 1 million chips and stuff like that. But I've always found Altamira to be like my favorite like town. Like if I close the game, I usually put my characters like over there if I'm not like doing anything specific when I log out, so to speak. But definitely Altamira. There's like a little theme park too. It's super cute.
Okay. That reminds me of that Cabo. What is it called? Like Cabo La Blanca. What is that place called in the FF set? I don't remember. It's like there's like a beach, and it reminds me. That's what it reminds me of. Or you could relate it to if you're talking about casino, relate it to the Golden Saucer or something. Okay. What about you, Tully?
Another place you haven't gotten to. It's a location called Sybec. It is a university town, and I am a nerd. I like books. And it's a place that is full of books. So I would like to go there.
Okay. Wow. So yeah, the only university thing I've done so far is like you have like a this kid challenges Genus to a test of some sort, and you like sit in a classroom, and I think I got like Genus passes with 100% no matter what or something. But yeah, it was that's the only university thing I've explored. But and they were like, yeah, you should come to our school, like you're a super smart kid or something. And I don't know if there's anything more to that storyline, but it seems like Genus is like funny enough, a genius, like
yeah.
So. That's why
that's his name, and that his name in Japanese is actually Genius instead of Genus.
Okay, yeah, and it makes a lot of sense because like he's just like, yeah, he's big brain.
Yeah.
Okay, so interesting. So Lloyd, does Lloyd have the best move set? Like, is there a favorite move set? And we'll start with you, Unkhaotic.
I think Lloyd has the easiest move set, if that makes sense. There's a lot of other characters that I find way more fun to play as. Like, Lloyd is just fun on his own just because he was made to chain combos. He was made to have, like, huge numbers of hit combos and make everything very fluid, very easy. So, yes, he's fun to play, but, Regal is also a character that I find fun to try to master because he has an entirely different move set than the rest of the characters, to where it's like you've got level 1, level 2, and level 3 techs on every other character of the game. Regal has combos for ground, mid-air, and anti-air techs, and they all chain completely differently into each other, or like they don't chain at all depending on the type. Very convoluted. So that's why it's like he is the probably like high risk, high reward, I kind of want to say, except there's not really a risk to playing him. He's just hard to master. Though I do think overall, despite how slow she is, Colette is probably one of my favorites as well, just because she's deceptively strong at melee range. Especially as you learn more skills early on. She just absolutely shreds guards. Like, she can guard break really well, and she's very secretly busted in a way. Like, the more, especially with certain angel skills she learns later on, and combined with her just certain X skills too, she becomes very what's the word? She can kind of maintain her own HP and TP because there's like a combination of EX skills she can have to where she will recover her own HP and TP based on her, like, the damage of her combo. So she's very self-sufficient, and I don't know, I like floating around. I like how different she feels compared to running around. And there's more accessories later on in the game that'll actually increase your character's movement speed, so I'll just double up on them, and then she's flying around as fast as Lloyd, which is very hilarious and just entertaining to see.
Just zooming across like everything, flying around.
Exactly.
That's entertaining. Yeah, because
Yes.
you would assume it'd be slow, but I guess if you do the speed thing, it's like like that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
What about you, Tully?
I'm basic. I like Lloyd because he has 2 swords, which are awesome, and he hits a lot. I do like playing Kratos a bit, though. He's Lloyd but heavy, and see, I don't know if you've gotten the ability Thunderblade for him, but that's one of his bread and butter. Just it hits like a truck, and it combos into most other things he's capable of doing. So those are the 2 I really enjoy.
How do you get Thunderblade?
He learns it eventually at I don't know what level. But it's within the standard progression of the game. He will eventually.
Hold on. I had it, but I don't know where it went. Oh yeah, he learns it at level 21 just by having lightning casted 50 times. You can then unlock it.
Okay,
That's
cool.
another mechanic to bring up. All your basic abilities you'll learn automatically, but every ability or most of the basic abilities have a second type. So like Lloyd has Demon Fang, and whether he's and Unkhaotic kind of talked about this earlier. Whether he's S or T type, once he's used Demon Fang 50 times and you reach the requisite level, he'll learn either Fierce Demon Fang, which is like a heavy version, or a Double Demon Fang, which is kind of light and faster. And so with your characters, make sure you're using all of their abilities and making the computers use their things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So it seems like you need to use certain abilities a certain number of times to unlock certain other abilities, and you want to kind of like continue that. I mean, yeah, I stopped using Demon Fang, so I don't know if I'm gonna if I was gonna unlock anything by doing that or not. But does the game tell you that you are on track to unlock something by doing so, or is that just something you just discover?
No, because you'll see, Fierce Demon Fang, it's highlighted in blue on my techniques. So I am now the level to learn it. It'll show Fierce Demon Fang, and it won't show you the number you need, but 50 is the only amount you need to learn any skill. You need to do the prerequisite skill 50 times in order to unlock the next skill up in the tree. And they usually have names that are obvious, like Demon Fang is either Fierce Demon Fang or Double Demon Fang. It's the same tree as Demon Fang. Or Sonic Thrust, you get Hurricane Thrust or Supersonic Thrust. So it's the same tree from Sonic Thrust. So the game kind of tells you, it'll show you can learn it, but it's up to the player to actually do the prerequisite skill the certain amount of times. Okay,
interesting. Yeah, I did. Okay, thank you for telling me that because I had no idea. Now, do you have and we'll start with Tully on this one. Do you have a favorite soundtrack or battle theme?
I will tell you if you promise to not look it up right now.
I'm looking it up.
So,
no, I'm just kidding.
Darn it. There's a song called The End of Thought. It plays in a very pivotal moment in the game, and it only plays one time, and it is fantastic. I've done many workout routines with that song. It is an A+ track. I wish it played more in the game, but it's for the moment, so it works.
All right, cool. End of Thought. I'll be looking forward to it. I won't look it up. I won't spoil it. And for you, Unkhaotic?
It's kind of a hard question for me because I like so much of the soundtrack. I'd say for battle themes specifically, either Fatalize, which you have come across already fighting that ninja assassin before. That's the theme that plays like with like the trumpets and stuff at the very beginning. Or a specific one a little bit later on called Beat the Angel. It's just it feels very like powerful and foreboding when you hear it for the first time. It's kind of gives you like goosebumps sometimes. Like it's just very oh shoot, we're here, we're at this point.
Nice.
Man, the soundtrack for this game is so darn good.
It is.
Yeah, they seem like they have a lot of soundtracks. Like I was looking at the OST on YouTube, and I listened to a couple of the intro songs, and they have a lot of soundtracks. Like there's a lot of how many? What was there? Like maybe it looks like there's 111 that they that they have on this OST. So that usually it's only like 15 or 20 or something, but there's 111 here. That's crazy. That's a lot.
Almost like every town and stuff has its own like dedicated soundtrack. There's a couple that have like the same tracks, like all the temples and stuff will have the same bass track, but otherwise unique for every character has their own theme song, and then a lot of bosses have like their own boss battle music and whatnot.
Okay. Now I guess I won't ask this question because it might be spoilers. I was going to ask like maybe what was the toughest boss that you encountered, but maybe we'll kind of skip that one. I'm sure that, or you could just say a name. Maybe that's not a spoiler. Like, I don't know if that would that be.
I'd say
honestly,
a lot of the toughest bosses are optional side quest boss, so I wouldn't necessarily consider it a super bad spoiler.
Okay, then yeah, sure. What would be the toughest boss for you?
For me specifically, I feel like probably I'd say there's a couple that are definitely at the top, but I'd say the most agreed upon one would be Abyssion, which is a side quest boss that you will not encounter in a like regular just story playthrough of the game. You kind of have to like go out of your way to do the side quest for it, if that makes sense.
Okay. Do you agree, Tully?
By the numbers, I would say his name's Abyssian, and he is statted and placed in the game to be the hardest boss.
Yeah.
I would say in the natural progression of the game, not the extra, like you beat the game, here's your extra challenge, but the standard progression, I would actually say that the fire boss you fought and the water boss you're fighting are the hardest bosses in the game because they are demanding skill checks of, did you pay attention to the matchup? Did you equip the right thing? Did you engage with the systems? Because if you don't engage with the systems, the game's going to be very difficult. And I think in part of forces or like trying to force the players to do that, the other bosses are not as frustrating because I know it's not a free, but the fire boss and the water boss will both just kick your butt.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that makes me feel a little better about the where I'm stuck. Yeah. Because I was like, what am I, dude? I just suck at this game. So if you're basically saying like this is the point in the game where you have to kind of know what you're doing, and once you do, then it's not so bad. But so it's kind of a like a skill check, like you were saying. It
is, and the other Tales games definitely have that. What is it? There's a wolf boss in Tales of Vesperia, Gatsuo, and everyone listening to that knows that boss just shuddered because it like Vesperia is pretty even keel. And it throws this stupid dog at you, and you can't go anywhere, and it's the hardest darn thing.
Why do the games do that? That's funny. Oh, man. Yeah, so in general, it might be Abyssian to most players, but like there's story progression in like not, what do you call, optional bosses, like maybe you said not Ifrit, the fire boss, and the mermaid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Abyssian is like it's at minimum like at least 30-minute fight. That if you done goof it up, you're restarting the whole thing. And so part of the difficulty is just the tedium of not dying.
Have you both beaten Abyssian?
Yes, I've beaten him on several different playthroughs. I wouldn't necessarily say 30 minutes just to beat him unless you have come in very like woefully unprepared. Like you have no idea like what you're about to walk into, and you're severely underleveled for it. Then I'd have to probably agree, but I'd say it's again a little bit easier later on once you've kind of understood what the point of this boss is, and like you come back later like very end game ready to like knock his stuff in, but it's still very challenging regardless. I would have to disagree about the earlier temples being like the hardest in the game though, for natural story wise, progression wise, I mean.
Where would you put it?
I would put it it's kind of spoilery. There's certain bosses where it's actually not required to beat them to progress the story. And it's like one of the turning points of like one of the first like main turning points of the story. kind of near the end of Colette's journey, so to speak. I feel like right there is the point where it's such a steep increase in difficulty that most people won't really like realistically beat them their first time playing through the game. You will get your butt handed to you. They will wipe the floor with you. It'll be very difficult because they throw multiple things at you at once. They're very fast. They have multiple different elements, and you don't really have access to the anything that really gives you an advantage in that fight up until that point. There's very little you can do to kind of prepare yourself sufficiently at that point. You kind of just have to. Again, it's not required to win to progress the story. So I guess, say that like eases the difficulty, but if you do want to beat it, it is something you kind of have to sit forward for and like really pay attention and be careful with.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm wondering what that will be. You said towards the end of Colette's journey, so to speak. So I'll kind of look out for that I'm sure I'll know when I know, because I'm sure I'll get destroyed.
Yes.
You know what it is, Tully? You know what the boss is?
Oh yeah, I know exactly what it is.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So it won't be a surprise then.
I would agree, and not to be competitive, I would agree only if the early bosses, like if you didn't have to read the manual and the game told you more of how to beat them, I would say that boss is definitely where I would put the hardest one. But the others, it's like, I hope you did your research.
Yeah, that is
Figure it
fair. That is a fair point of view as well. So it's like I don't entirely disagree with like what you say.
Yeah, it's almost like they're difficult for different reasons in a way.
Exactly.
So I get that. So it's like one's like a knowledge thing, and the other one's more of a maybe a skill thing, I guess.
Kind of, yeah.
Pretty much.
Okay. Yeah. What tip would you give to new players playing this game? Like, if it was their first time playing, like, what would you say a new player should focus on? And we'll start with Tully.
I would make sure people know how to turn Genus's elemental magics on and off, because that makes bosses dramatically easier. I think that's the only real big tip, other than, read the items and do a bit of reading on the mechanics of the game, so you understand why it's doing these things that it won't explain to you. But I think the game, other than that, really kind of, I don't really have any big tips. I mean, play Lloyd, get the ability Rising Phoenix, which will happen way later if you get it. It deals tremendous damage, and it's hilarious.
Okay. Rising Phoenix, and making sure that you know how to swap out Genus's elemental attacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and did you know that you can put your allies' abilities on your, I'll call it the C stick, but your alternate stick directions? You know what I mean?
I think I had just started discovering that, but I didn't really use it.
Putting Rain's nurse on a hotkey so you can spam her to tell her, do this ability again and again, is really helpful. And so it's tempting as Lloyd to have 8 abilities at your disposal to combo, and that's great, but don't neglect your party members having those on your C-stick. And if you want to go into the menu to tell them which ability to use and when every time, I mean, you can, but if I could just have a button that tells, Genus to use Aqua Edge, so he's not running around letting the computer decide what to do. Here's the one ability that you're here to do.
Okay.
Nothing else.
Gotcha. And what about you? Do you have any tips for new players on Chaotic?
I've got a couple. I think I will piggyback off of like what Tully was saying, though, where it's like I kind of do the turning on and off text for a majority of the other like computers that basically anyone I'm not controlling, their stuff's being turned on or off. Like for Rain specifically, I turn off everything that's not a healing spell for her. Like I don't want her to waste time buffing the party members' attack and defense. If I want to do that, I'll like have her manually do that. I don't let her waste her precious TP. Like even for boss battles, once she eventually learns offensive spells too, I turn those off. She is delegated to just a healer. And same for like other characters like Kratos, I turn off all of his spells because I don't want him, a frontliner, randomly deciding, oh, I'm gonna cast like a fireball. Like, no, you need to start whacking people. Okay. But so to kind of two other things though is I think new players need to learn how to block. Like the importance of blocking. If you're not sure what a boss is going to do, block. You can't just hack and slash your way through and expect to win every single battle. You need to kind of learn how to like kind of back up a bit and block. And if honestly, even like evade attacks rather than blocking them, just straight up don't get hit, if that makes sense. I think so many people are just kind of thinking, oh, they can kind of brute force their way through everything, which definitely works for smaller like mobs and dungeons and stuff, but I don't know if you use manual or semi-auto to control Lloyd. I don't know. But this is a lot easier on manual. You can jump up and down in battle. On semi-auto, I believe you have to hit the block button and then up, which is really hard if you're trying to get a running start. But something that's really helpful is if you're on manual, running and jumping over an enemy to attack them from behind. This way, you have a higher likelihood of breaking their guard and staggering them so they can't turn around and attack you. Because a lot of like bosses have high stagger resistance, so just attacking them at their face, they're still going to be able to wail on you too. So you can't jump over every boss. Like I think you can jump over the little pink-haired mermaids, but you cannot jump over the tall blue mermaid. Like she's too tall for you to jump over. But it could be very helpful if more people kind of looked into how much you can move around, although you are limited to a linear space in a 3D circle. Blocking, evading, and just jumping over the enemies and trying to attack them from behind are just three very core things I'd say are kind of important and can make your life a lot easier with just getting combos off, avoiding, dying as much, and managing to stagger things so they can't keep casting their spells and like shredding things up. And also kind of another tip is the strat menu. Certain things sound sound like just deceptive. Like I noticed on your stream, you have Rain set to don't pursue. That actually puts her in the middle of the formation. You'd actually want to put her on like long range magic. That'll put her as far away as possible from the fray. I know the game tells you, oh, keep your distance from the enemy. It's still, the AI will try to keep the formation of the strat menu to the best of their ability. But only up to a certain distance. So they'll still keep edging up closer to the monsters if you're up in the monsters' faces. They kind of, yeah, so they'll try to keep the general formation. So like if you have two frontliners, someone in the middle and someone in the back lines, the AI will try their best to maintain the status quo of that. So it's very important to make sure that you have your characters lined up and their strats set exactly where they need to be, and kind of trying to look deeper into what the strats actually mean versus what they sound like they mean.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely discuss that point in a second. Because we're gonna go into the good, the bad, and the mixed feelings that I had about the game. And that's definitely on there. Yes. So we'll start with one of my good points first. I always like starting off with good, and then we'll kind of go back and forth. One of the good things that I really enjoyed about this game, it was the graphics, and I kind of mentioned that earlier. I think the graphics are they kind of stood up to the test of time in a sense. Like they didn't feel really outdated. They felt pleasant and they felt nice and colorful, and I enjoyed it. And so you play some of these older games and you'll go back and they're just like ugh, it's like whoa, that's really bad. But I think it's because the cel shaded style that they use, kind of like not Twilight Princess. What's the other one? Wind Waker, where it's like, okay, this really stood up. Like this is actually still decent looking enough. I ain't saying it's like the best graphics ever or the best cel shaded graphics ever, but they're still good, I would say. Do you two feel the same?
I'd have to agree myself. Yeah, I think it looks really cutesy and charming for what it is. I think there's definitely some games further on in the series that are peak like graphics. I think they peaked with Vesperia. I think every game after that kind of went too far into like kind of realism and shading and stuff. I think definitely the best midpoint was Vesperia, but Symphonia itself, I think I also would have to agree with you. It's just very, for me though too, obviously I have like the rose-colored glasses of nostalgia. Some people can find it like, I remember my cousin walking up to me and being like, "Are you playing like a Lego game?" I was like, "No, this is not even close to that," but good observation, I guess. But I find the cute little blocky like chibi characters to be very cute and charming and attractive in a way. Like I like, and even the environments too. It's like the textures and the colors and just the design of everything I definitely enjoy. I feel like it's something, it's not meant to be super duper realistic, and it doesn't have that weird, you come back to it and it's like, oh wow, these were such amazing graphics for the time, but now it's like everybody's a triangle. It's what it's meant to be. It's a cutesy little anime game, and I do enjoy the visual aspect of it a lot.
Absolutely. And what about you, Tully?
Yeah, the graphics and the story, I like them quite a bit. Piggyback, yeah, rose tinted glasses. It's definitely a nostalgia trip. I think all of the concept art for the characters kind of brings it beyond just these chibi characters, and yeah, no, I really like the graphics. As much as I railed on the 30 FPS limit for the combos and the combat, watching the remaster, how it looks good, I'm always like, oh, that's so great. I'm glad it looks good. I wish it just played.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's. I thought the graphics were good. I don't think they are the best, but they are plenty good. They stood up to the test of time. I mean, by now this game is 20 years old, over 20 years old. So you're looking at a good chunk of time there that went by, and it's still good. Now I'll go over to actually, interestingly enough, this is one of my bad points. It isn't really to do with the graphics, but it's kind of not directly like related in a way. There's this weird like blurring effect that they do in some of the cutscenes or whatever you want to call them, where it's like the certain scenes are kind of blurred, and I don't know if you guys noticed that. And I was kind of annoying. I had to get like a mod to fix it because I was just like, it was like irritating me. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Not quite.
I know the scenes, and I believe if I remember correctly, it's largely because they rendered all the models at a certain aspect to be viewed, like when you're running around the map, and then every now and then they're going to zoom in for a close up, and it's like, and they put a filter on to make it not look as bad, and you're like, did you just like not do that?
Yeah, okay.
Was not the best decision they ever made.
Yeah, okay, so it was intentional, I guess, that they put this filter on to kind of cover up maybe some of the what, the details, because maybe it didn't look as good, but I think it looks better without it, to be honest. So
Crazy. I can't think of is there like specific scenes you can bring up, because I'm like trying to rack my brain, and maybe I've just like ignored it throughout the years. Like, you know how you can't see your nose until you focus on it. But it's like right in front of your face the whole time. I wonder if it's just something that it's like I've gotten used to over the years.
Yeah.
I think,
Go ahead.
I think the other element is when this game came out, a lot of people still played games on CRT televisions. So the television had kind of this blurring effect, which, like, I'm sure you've seen if you play a Super Nintendo game on an HD, you can see every single square, but you put it on a CRT television and it looks like amazing. Like you can see shadings like and gradients because they had that limitation of the television in mind, so it looks better on older television. And I would imagine that part of that because Symphonia is them still like, well, everyone has a CRT television. That's all people make.
Okay. Yeah, and to clarify like a specific scene, I first noticed it. It was in a scene right outside of the first dungeon where you run into the 2 soldiers or the 3 soldiers or whatever, and I think the mercenary guy's with you too. It's like the first time maybe you meet him, and Colette is like either going into the dungeon or she's in the dungeon. I don't really remember exactly, but I noticed it first in that scene, and I was like, "What is going on?" And maybe it's only the GameCube version that has it, and maybe it's not the other version, or they might have changed it. Maybe I have no idea. But it's something I noticed, and I looked it up, and other people had the same issue, so they came up with a solution to fix it. But it was very minor, but it was just kind of like distracting, and I was like, they could have done without it. For sure.
That's interesting. Next time I boot up my GameCube and like that copy of it, I'll start up a new game just to like try to see what you guys are talking about. It has been years since I've touched that version, so it's possible.
Yeah, and it might have been something you didn't notice, because I know if I go back and play like older games, there's stuff I notice now that I didn't notice before. And that is fair. Partly due to the new televisions and everything. Yeah, and so we'll go on to my next point, and it's one of my mixed feelings, and it's mostly because I don't think I fully grasped it yet, and I wasn't sure how I felt about the combat. Like, I felt it was fun, and it was good overall, but I think the fact that it's kind of hard to understand, and the fact that you kind of need to do that extra research to really grasp it kind of gives me a mixed feeling on it. And I wish it would have been explained a little better in the game, at least for me, because I'm kind of, I don't know, maybe I just don't read that well, but like I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing. Like there's a U attack, and then I tried using the U attack, and then I finally kind of understood it, and then the techs, and then the different attack types, the strikes versus the tech, and then it's like, kind of got a little like, I didn't know what to do, and then I had to like put my AI companions at a certain, like you said, like, oh, actually you don't put your AI companion on what was it? What the don't pursue.
Don't
you
pursue.
Put them, yeah, you put them on.
Put them on long range magic.
Yeah, and so I feel a little bit mixed. Like I feel like the combat is unique, and I like that. I do wish I could move like in the 3D space, but it that wouldn't make it as unique, I suppose. But yeah, it just felt a little like a little complicated for like a new player. And I know that's something you can overcome with research, but I prefer my games to kind of explain it to me better. Typically, like a small, maybe, I don't know if you need a tutorial, but yeah, maybe a small tutorial or a small explanation. And they do kind of do that, but maybe I just missed a lot by not reading well or something. I don't know. So it's kind of a mixed feeling I had. And then the fact that I'm kind of new, I spammed a lot. Like I just kind of spammed my attacks. So for me as a new player, it felt spammy, but it sounds like later on you kind of get like more complex abilities and you really kind of get more into this combat system. Is that right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And, because it's an RPG, for some games are only like 5 hours long, and I played it roughly 10 hours. So it, and I barely scratched the surface. So maybe they could have like gotten more into, I don't know, it's kind of complicated because you don't want to rush players into this, but it's like, it felt a little spammy at the part I was at. So I felt a little mixed on that. I'm not sure, and I think I'm going to enjoy the combat more the more I play it, but to the point where I'm at, I'm like, it's okay. It's like whatever. And I know you both will disagree with me probably on that point, and that's fine. I think, is there anything you want to add on that?
I'd say your criticisms are actually like pretty fair. It's kind of, since you don't really have access to more like in-depth combos later on, it's kind of like the game hopes you're gonna learn it like just by natural experimentation as you slowly like unlock more things. But I definitely feel like it is a common opinion too that a lot of people would love it if free run was implemented into Symphonia, like patched in or whatever in a future remake. I feel like it is, certain people don't mind the side-scrolling like lock for combat, but it definitely would make evading certain things way easier if you could just step off to the side.
Right.
So,
would you? I mean, Tully, do you have anything to add?
I think your criticism is remarkably valid. I think, at least for me, one of the reasons I enjoyed the game so much is because when I was learning it and like playing it as a teenager, I would come to school and me and my friends, oh, did you learn this? Oh, did you learn this? So there was a communal base of us like all testing the game at the same time. And I don't think that's good for an individual player, which is why if you were to say, would I recommend it? Tales of Vesperia, because it tells you how to play the darn game. But Symphonia has a lot to offer, and if you have 5 people all play testing the game and just figuring it out, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, it doesn't tell you how to play the game. It's kind of stupid.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, back in the day, that's how you played games a lot of the time, is that you would go to school and you would like talk to it with your friends. I did this with Ocarina of Time. I'd be like, dude, I'm stuck. I don't know how to get like to, and my friend would be like, oh yeah, did you get like, the hook shot yet or something? And I'd be, what? How do I get that? And like, eventually, he'd be like, oh, you got to go to the graveyard and you got to go do some stuff. And so that's kind of how information kind of got around. And it sounds like you did the same thing with Tales. And as a single player, I'm obviously not doing that. I mean, some of my chatters would once in a while might say something, but I don't have a lot of chatters. I only have a few. And especially since my voice has been down, I haven't really had any. But it's just, it's definitely one of those games that seems like it would be better if you kind of had that community, So that's, or you just researched it. And I kind of have like I don't like to look up guides in games. I kind of have like an affliction towards them, but if I get stuck, I will. Like, for example, if I get stuck more than like 30 minutes, oftentimes I'll look up a guide because I just don't want to be stuck anymore, So I don't know how you guys feel about guides, but I know some people just don't care. They'll look up a guide for anything. And then some people are like, no guides, never,
I'm very, very positive guide. I will look up a guide if I'm even like unsure about which technique I want to learn versus not learn. Like, I don't let it like control every decision. Like, I do like playing through games myself too, but I definitely enjoy the more in-depth like look by using guides too.
Okay. What about you, Tully?
I mean, other than a puzzle game, which that's the point of the puzzle game, so looking up a guide for that would seem kind of silly. I mean, guides are fine, especially with this game not telling you how it functions, having something to explain why it's doing and what you're capable of doing without hours and hours of mashing your face to hope you find it, and even then recognize that you found it. Yeah, I mean, guides are fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, dungeons, definitely go through them first with trial and error and figuring them out, but there's certain ones that are very frustrating where it's like, I would not blame anybody for pulling up a guide on how to get through it because it gets very convoluted later on and very backtracky, and you have to remember where you've been and where you haven't been. So I wouldn't blame anybody, but very fun to figure out on your own if you're into that sort of thing. It's very engaging.
Yeah, I'm into it for about 30 minutes. and I'm like, okay, where am I? What am I doing? Yeah, so I'll go to another one of my good points, and I think this is actually one of the strongest points of the Tales in Symphonia is that the voice acting was actually really decent. Like it was pretty good.
Yes.
And
Scott Manville.
I played the dub version, the English. I didn't play the Japanese, but dude, it was the only gripe I had with it is that there wasn't enough. Like I wish there was more voice acting.
Voice acted Z skits in English dub is my dream, and they still don't do it with all of the remasters.
That's why I'm
only
saying
the Japanese ones.
They need to just rebuild the game from the base up. I would love the original voice actors, but get what you can get. I will say what was really cool playing this when it came out. Teen Titans was airing when this came out, and Lloyd, the same guy, voices Robin in Teen Titans, and that was the first time I ever recognized, like, that's the same guy doing the same thing, and it was really cool to be like, I know.
It's so funny you say that because I have friends that like grew up and they're like, oh my gosh, this game that you showed me, that sounds like Robin from Teen Titans, but I grew up with just Lloyd. So for me, Robin sounds like Lloyd.
That's so funny. Yeah, for me, it was the other way around where I heard Lloyd's voice and I was like, hey, I know that voice. That's Robin from Teen Titans. Immediately, I knew it. Immediately. And he does a good job. He does a great job in this game, and so does everyone else. Everyone does a great job. And I was kind of surprised because I didn't expect it to have really good voice acting. It just did. And I just wish the skits were voice acted because the skits are a lot of read. And I know some of those moments would be so funny if they were voice acted. I mean, they're funny even reading it, but some of those moments would just be so entertaining if they were voice acted. I would have loved it. And maybe there's like a mod that comes out where somebody, whether you're against it or not, like does AI voices of the characters and makes them good. That would be maybe even because they're not gonna. I doubt they're gonna go back ever and like say like here's a pack of like the voice acted skits, unless they completely remake the game, which is which will be a totally different thing. But who knows if they'll do that since there's a remaster already. Yeah, I love the voice acting. Super good. Now, as far as the dungeons go, I only did a few of them, but some of them felt like you kind of mentioned before. There's some backtracking in this game where it's like you're kind of forced to like go to a certain part of the dungeon, then you're forced to go like back, and then you're forced to go back to that certain part of the dungeon. And you kind of do this over and over.
Yep.
Is that a common criticism?
It's definitely very common throughout the game. It can get a bit tiring with some of the bigger, longer ones because there's luckily there's some cool glitches or skips for like specific dungeons later on, but only like 2. So it is kind of a gripe that a lot of people seem to have with how much you have to go back and forth. Oh, but you didn't do this the first time you did it, so now you kind of have to reset the whole thing because you messed it up. And it's very tedious. It's fun but tedious at times.
I don't know how bad it gets, and to the point where I'm at, it wasn't like horrible. It wasn't as bad as like Final Fantasy X with the sphere, the orb sphere
puzzle, the sphere.
Yeah, where you're resetting a lot.
No.
Yeah, in those. So unless you're like you just remember if you remember them really well, then maybe you don't have to. But yeah, I was like, ugh. So it wasn't as bad as that. I would
Not
give
yet.
it. Not yet. It gets that bad. It gets
Give
that
it
way?
time.
Oh no.
You'll get there.
So yeah, maybe they could have designed the dungeons a little bit differently. I think that could have been.
Yeah, at the beginning of the game, you're still very much in baby's first dungeon part of the game. Like you think it's bad now. You've seen nothing.
Goo goo gaga. I heard lots of complaints about the shadow dungeon. Is that your least favorites?
Honestly, I don't mind the shadow dungeon. There's specific things in the shadow dungeon that people have gripes with that also are annoying to me. but there's different dungeons later on that are a lot more annoying with like slide puzzles where once you choose a direction, you're going that direction till you hit a wall. And some of those can be a bit frustrating, especially because there can be different paths for them that lead to different doors that go up or down in the dungeon. And sometimes you have to go through them several times and backtrack once again.
Oh. What about you, Tully? You got a least favorite dungeon?
I would agree. And I don't understand the fascination with it, but the sliding block puzzles, I have had enough of those in my life. I don't need more of them. And Tales Symphonia has a few, but that's when I was younger. But I'm just not a big fan of those. So I get the tedium of the Shadow Dungeon. It's just annoying. But I think that one's fine. But
Okay.
I like the Lightning Dungeon. I'd rather talk about the ones I like, 'cause Lightning Dungeon is really cool.
Yeah.
Lightning's cool.
Oh yeah,
Okay. Well, how far is that into the game?
42 hours.
Okay, so pretty far.
Yeah,
Yeah, you still have quite a ways.
Yeah, it's not super late into the game, but it's a bit past where you're at. It's like one of the first bigger dungeons that you'll come across, like one of the first like more complicated ones.
That's the opposite of FF10. The Lightning Dungeon sucked. I hated that one.
Oh no.
Some people might not be the most biggest fans of the Lightning Dungeon, but it's definitely not as polarizing as the Shadow Dungeon.
Okay. Yeah, and then Ocarina of Time, it's like the Water Temple. There's always one. There's always one.
Mm-hmm.
Now back to one of my good points. I like the character design. I liked the characters so far, and I know they get more complex and enjoyable. But they made me laugh, like I said before. They had personality. They all brought their own thing to the table, and I liked that. And I thought that was really cool. I think the character design in this game is pretty good, and I think it keeps getting better as I go along. So
Agreed.
Yeah.
Not really much else to add to that.
without spoiling,
Yeah.
Pretty much.
yeah.
There's definitely more interesting party members you'll eventually come across that some people love, some people hate. I'd say more on the side of a lot of people enjoy them, but there's definitely been people who have voiced their distaste of them. But overall, pretty popular cast. There's not really anyone that most people despise.
Okay, so
I think the game does. I think the game does a really good job of every single character ends up in a very distinct, different place by the end of the game. So there are no just sidekick Bob. That's the comic relief. That's just comic relief. There's every character has stuff going on, so they all have reasons to be loved.
Yeah, they all have very deep, specific, honestly tragic backstories, which doesn't always make a good character. But yeah, very, very complex character stories for all of them, which is really nice. There's not really any one-sided characters. Everyone has their own hidden things and stories and things you don't quite see.
Okay, nice. So I like that. I don't like shallow characters. I like deep characters that have some background to them and that make them feel important to the world. I don't like characters that are just there to be there. It's okay, cool, whatever. Because you could care, you don't really care if they live or die. You're just whatever. So yeah, I do like characters you put some emotional investment into. I think that's cool. Now I have one more point, and it's a bad point, and and it's mostly because I'm going to say the famous line, mad because bad. I'm mad because bad. I don't really understand the AI, how they work. Do they not do what you want them to do, or sometimes, or they?
I think that's a common gripe. I think it might have gotten better with the remasters. The AI slightly works a bit better, but definitely, especially in the GameCube version, the AI is very dumb, very slow. They'll kind of stand around not doing anything, or they'll run up and hit an enemy if they think they don't have enough TP, and yeah, they're a bit stupid. That's a very common gripe a lot of people have with the game. You're not alone in that.
Okay.
Even if you do have the proper strats set on your characters, sometimes they're just dumb.
Yep.
There's not really a whole lot of getting around that, other than, as Tully said earlier, set first aid or nurse or revitalize or whatever healing technique on one of your C stick shortcuts, or like R1, R2 like shortcuts, stuff like that. Set heals as your shortcuts. Turn on and off the abilities of certain characters that you don't want them using, and try your best to keep track of who's living and who's like on the brink of death. Pretty much, you kind of have to. You can't just let the healers just sit back and do their thing. You kind of have to micromanage them just a little bit.
Yeah,
to that end, I actually always enjoyed Rain's AI, but I would always turn everything off except the healing, like you said, and then she would only heal, and you're like, great, you did your job. Thanks.
Yeah, if someone gets poisoned or whatever, either use a panacea bottle or manually cast the purifying spell for that. I don't let the AI waste my time trying to do like 7 different things at once. Your job is to heal. That's all you're gonna do.
Yes, the healers did not heal me when I wanted them to. I was trying to figure out how to manipulate them to make them like only heal me, and I just couldn't figure it out that well. Because
turn off their spells.
I guess turn off all the spells. Yeah, because I was like, why aren't you healing me like that? Your primary duty is a healer. I think I like put them their primary duty as a healer or something, or like focus on healing, and they still didn't do it. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I'm sitting here, and I would have to like
definitely.
Yeah, go ahead.
Shortcuts definitely help mitigate that, because by the time they pop off one heal, spam the shortcut button and you're near death, that's when their next heal goes off, because they're just constantly like queuing up another heal in line. So definitely use those shortcut buttons. They are your best friend. Okay.
So maybe the next time I get into this game, I'll have some better tips to actually, do better, because it sounds like there was a lot of things I was missing. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you ever stream it again, feel free to ping me in the Discord, and I could try to like pop in if I'm free and like maybe give some tips in chat if you're struggling or if you want to reach out.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I could probably use
I'm always down for that sort of thing. I'll try not to be backseating. I'll only give advice once you ask for it, of course.
Yeah, I might need some backseats for this one. I need a few of them. Yeah, so now we're going to go into the rating of the game, but before I like to rate the game, and again, I didn't get really far enough to fairly rate the game. I just want to clarify for everybody listening that take my rating with a giant mountain of salt, because it's such a deep game that I only scratch the surface. And it's more of my rating on the first impressions. So before we get into that, though, I want to see if any of you have any final thoughts or anything to add.
If I can give one negative, because there's one that always sticks out to me, is the quest management is done like many older games in which there is none. And if you want to look up a guide, by all means you can, but there are many missable events that you just have to know to show up in a town and talk to a person and something will happen for a number of quests. And I wish that there was a quest management, like, maybe there's something interesting in this town you should go look at, instead of, okay, well, you beat this plot point, go check every town again. And after you beat that plot point, check again.
Oh, no.
100% agree. There's so many messable, like, little collectible items, side quests, starters, and all that stuff. And some of them are at the most inconvenient timing, where it's like, okay, you just did this one thing to unlock something in order to access somewhere else to save this person, but actually the only window of time you can to start this other side quest is before you actually rescue that person. So you're gonna go F off to some other town, like across the map first before you do this seemingly time sensitive task. And there's certain things like even endgame, it's like certain side quests aren't like startable until you view the final cutscene after the final door before you actually go to do the final boss. Then you can go leave that dungeon and go start a bunch of end game side quests. And it's crazy to me. The game doesn't tell you that. And it's such an awkward timing. So I 100% agree. The quest management is horrendous.
That sucks that you can miss so much. So it almost seems like, I'm not going to say it's a requirement, but it almost seems like you're going to want some sort of guide going through it, you know?
For a first playthrough, I'd say no, but if you're actually trying to 100% the game and like do everything, see everything, yes, you will need a guide.
Okay.
Yeah, for the enjoyment of the game, you don't need to, but it's all optional, like extra scenes where you get to see characters interacting, and that's cool. But it's not required. Yeah,
just costumes, different weapons, different, like, again, little collectibles in order to, like, 100% complete the collector's book, or, like, just little things that can be important, but nothing, like, game-breaking that will, like, ruin your save if you didn't do it. You just ended up missing it that playthrough.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I'll try to, I guess if I play this game twice all the way through, then that's something I should know. We'll see if I get time. It's like a new retro game every week, but yeah. Well, I don't want to beat this game though. I want to beat this game because I enjoyed my time with it. So, now before I rate the game, I'm gonna actually have you two rate the game, and we'll start with you, Unkhaotic. What would you rate the game? Let me think of a good rating system, actually, because 1 out of 10 is kind of boring. How many dungeons are there in the game?
I am not sure of an exact number.
It's about 15.
Okay, let's do it out of 15. So 1 out of 15, what would you rate? 1 out of 15 dungeons, what would you rate Tales of Symphonia Unkhaotic?
Probably like a 13 out of 15. Like, I'd say it's definitely up there, but there's definitely some little tiny things that kind of, set it back. Some of them due to just age and outdated mechanics, and then other things being literal dungeons, like just if these certain things could be a little bit more condensed and like less tedious, I think. But overall, I really do enjoy the game, and the nostalgic part of me wants to give it a 15 out of 15, but I will try to remain more impartial and leave it at 13.
Okay. Yeah, I always do that with nostalgia too. I'm like, okay, how do I do this without, because nostalgia plays a big factor. All right, and Tully, what would you rate it out of 15 dungeons?
Oh, I'm going to play in the nostalgia. It's a 15 out of 15 for me. It is my own rating for my enjoyment. I'm not rating it for other people because they have their own ratings. Go watch IGN or some other person for a rating if you want something objective. But my experience was, max. But again, it was kind of the time period when I was growing up and a lot of nostalgia pieces.
Okay.
I wouldn't hand it to someone first, but for me, it's max.
Okay.
That is 100% fair. 100. I can get with that. I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so from a very scratch the surface, 10 to 15% of the game or whatever that I beat, as a first player impression, I would probably have to give it, and maybe, and this is with the mods and stuff that I did. So I kind of, maybe it's kind of hard for me to say, but with the mods and everything that I did, I would have to probably give it I almost rated it out of 10. I would probably have to give it like a 13 out of 15 as well. I think that's kind of where I would sit with it. I think it's pretty darn good. but it's not perfect. It's got some of those like the game doesn't teach you the mechanics very well, at least to the point where I'm at, and I wish more of it was voice acted. The voice acting's so good, and then the music was great. We didn't really talk about the music too much, but we did a little bit, and I think the NPC AI could have been a little bit better. But overall, I mean, it's a good game, and I think a 13 out of 15 is a very solid rating. I think that, that's, it's very playable. So like if people asked me, should I play this game? Should I reload the game? I would say yes. I would say 100% yes, especially if you're a RPG fan. If you like stories, if you like anime too, because it's very anime-esque themed. So I think this is a great game, and I do think the combat could have been, like if you could move around, I think I would have preferred that, but the combat's still not bad. And when I asked people like what aged the most in this game, they mostly said it was the combat. Like that was like the one thing they would kind of change. So yeah, no, great game, solid game, enjoyed it. Tales of Symphonia is awesome. I'm glad I really played it. I'm glad that Ariok submitted it to the retro roster. I believe it was Ariok. I want to make sure I get that right because I want to give credit to where it's due. And yeah, he did. He said he submitted it. So yeah, Ariok, thank you for submitting it. Another great game by Ariok. Super, super cool. Yeah, awesome. And I want to thank you two for coming on the show. I know, Tully, you said you don't have any socials that you wanted to plug, right?
No.
But I think Unkhaotic, you had a Twitch channel?
Yes, it's the same as my name, just Unkhaotic. Nothing fancy, but Unkhaotic with a K.
Yeah. And to clarify, it's UNKHAOTIC for people. Unkhaotic. How often do you stream? Are you streaming multiple times a week or?
I haven't really started streaming too much yet. I do plan on streaming multiple times a week once I can get everything set up beforehand. But yeah, that's my goal. I do want to stream more regularly and stream more often. I had only streamed a few times in the past to some friends, but I'm getting everything ready behind the scenes to like really do it like on a more consistent basis because I do want to I don't know, be a streamer and do that sort of fun thing sometime. So that's the plan.
Yeah, and I wish you the best of luck. If you ever stream, let us know in the Discord. Well, I'm sure there's plenty of people that will want to watch you. You in that little self-promo channel. There's a lot of people that support each other. Well, at least some. So yeah, that's exciting. Streaming is fun. Streaming is super enjoyable. You think you're going to stream Tales?
Honestly, I don't think I'll stream Tales right away. My kind of pipe dream is like someday maybe I'll become like a bigger, like popular streamer and I have a big audience that'll watch anything that I'm playing, if that makes sense, not just based on the game that I'm playing. And I hope to like kind of introduce Tales of Symphonia and other Tales games to like a wider like audience, so they do get more like love on like the Western side of things and stuff, and they do get like shared to a wider audience of people. Because while Tales of Symphonia is like a popular game, it's not super niche. Most people I've met have never like heard of it or the Tales series in general, even the more like newer games. So that's like one of like my little dreams to share this beautiful piece with the world. Eventually I will play it, and I don't think I'll only save it for like that. I think I will do some playthroughs of it at some point in time. There's no way to like avoid it with how much I like enjoy playing it. But yeah, that's like my little like mini dream, like childhood dream, just sharing this beautiful masterpiece with the world, I guess.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, variety streamers are that's what I like doing, kind of. But it's mostly been retro games. So yeah, super cool. And then last but not least, I'll do a little riddle and see if you guys can guess it. It won't be the game of next week because I actually still have yet to play Comic Zone, but it'll be the game for next week. So this is the riddle: 4 brave souls through realms of must tread, in search of shards both green and red. With food they fight to stay alive, while death awaits close to those who strive. I offer might and golden galore, but hoarding greed may end your score. What game am I? Where's teamwork's key? And Blue Wizard needs food badly. Do you know what game this is? I don't think I would if I didn't have the game in front of me. I don't think I would.
Man, you picked the wrong person to ask a riddle. The only thing I could think of would be Overcooked.
The only thing I can think of, and it's just based off of like a certain line that you said, is just Pikmin.
Pikmin? Oh man, don't even get me started. I have a love-hate with that game, but no, it's not Pikmin. It's actually going to be for the PS2, and it's Gauntlet Dark Legacy.
I would have never guessed that because I've never played it.
Yeah, it's a fun game. It's really fun co-op. Maybe if I can get somehow to play co-op, that would be so fun because it's like a really good multiplayer game. It originally I think was an arcade game, and they put it on the PS2. Super fun. So, yep, that would be the game for not this next week, but the week after. So, hey, thank you two for coming by and doing the podcast. It's been super fun. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
any excuse to talk about Tales of Symphonia. Like, if you ever wanted to do a deep dive, like if you play through the game to completion and stuff, I'd love to like come back and talk more. Like once you actually have more of the story done, and we can talk more in depth about everything.
Cool. Yeah.
I'd love to get into the music because the music is just so phenomenal. But there are so many story beats. It's like, let's talk about the music. Well, let's spoil the whole darn game.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have to do, we'll see where this poll goes, see if people want me to complete, because I'll do this poll probably multiple times where people see what games they want me to complete. But the retro deep dives are usually about anywhere from 3 hours long, roughly. So they're like an extra hour. We can get into the story and stuff and even the music and maybe even development. So yeah. All right. Well, thanks again. Well, folks, that's game over for this episode of Retro Reloaded. Thanks for joining me on this retro adventure. If you loved today's trip down memory lane, then consider helping me keep the nostalgia alive by supporting me on Patreon at patreon.com/retro reloaded. You'll get early episodes, bonus content, and a chance to pick the next game that we reload. Feel free to let me know your thoughts about the podcast, and until next time, keep those controllers charged.